Again, thanks to everyone who's joined this call. This is the annual meeting of the Patapsco Heritage Greenway. We really appreciate you making the time to come here. It's really you
And we're
folks
not on
that,
visual.
it's you folks that really help PHG vote what it is. So we really do appreciate this. We're going to keep the agenda short, but we hope you'll find it valuable. I'll start by introducing myself. I'm Mark Sutherland. I'm the president of PHG's board. I'm in my first year in that role, following the
Environmental consultant.
of some great past presidents, John Slater, Grace Kapovchik, Steve Walks, that really helped put this organization into a really good position. And I can say that after 2020 and we're coming out of the pandemic, we really are an effective and efficient organization, and we have a promise of doing a lot more great things in the future. I think we're just really doing well, and we've got a really great group of board members, a really amazing staff, and then a lot of other members and partners out there. It really is a partnership organization. I'm not going to list them all. If you look at the annual report, you'll be able to see many of our partners, and certainly you're going to hear today from Dave Ferrero of the Friends of Patapsco State Parks. So that's one example of a partnership that we have. And we've everything from Sykesville to Baltimore. We have great partners all the way throughout the Patapsco Valley. But I'll just want to emphasize again in my short moments here that the success is largely due to our excellent staff. I mean, they're really a great group. We've had new people come on board for the last couple of years, and they're just really great. Each one of them brings enthusiasm, special skills, an understanding of their subject area, an understanding of education, and all the topics that are relevant to PHG. So then I'll turn it over to our great executive director, Aaron Shapiro, in just a moment, and just say one thing really, which is that in addition to all the things that we do specifically, we have an overarching program of 4 themes. If you've seen our website, if you've been involved with us at all, you understand that we look at heritage, we look at environment, we look at arts and culture, and we look at recreation as major themes, things that we feel are important about the Valley that we can promote and help people benefit from. So it's an acronym HEAR here, which is really, I think, appropriate, because what I think of PHG about is really telling stories. I mean, there's great stories of history of humans here. There's great stories of history of our natural environment and, opportunities going forward. And what we're doing this year that I think is a little different, that we're going to continue, which I think is important, is that we're telling stories across those themes. So if you're involved with activities, you might go out on a environmental cleanup, but hear about the heritage of that area. You might go out on a recreational activity and hear about the environmental issues associated as well. So we're telling stories and we're trying to connect those stories across the entire Valley. And so the last pitch related to that and those 4 themes is that we have committees chaired by a member of the board, but open to any member of PHG. So all of you out there have special talents, you have enthusiasm, you have things you can bring, and we welcome those on these committees. So if you're interested in joining those committees, you see the some committee chairs up there now. You can obviously contact me, you can contact Aaron. We'd love to have you involved in those committees. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Aaron, and we'll follow the rest of the agenda. So Aaron Shapiro, our executive director.
Well, thanks, Mark. I really appreciate it, and welcome everybody to the 2022 annual meeting. I picked the background that you see behind me. It actually comes from it's this PSNAPSCO winner for March 2020, which was in many ways, I suppose, not a month a lot of us want to remember with the beginning of the pandemic. And while we're gathered virtually, I think we're doing so in a way to help connect folks. And having come from an event earlier today in person over at CCBC, I'm really delighted to see things picking up across the Valley and have the opportunity, hopefully, to meet all of you in person if I haven't already. I did want to take a little bit of time at the outset to introduce our new staff who have joined us since the annual meeting. And you see the agenda for this evening on the screen. I'm going to skip ahead so you can commit that one to memory. And I want to welcome both Rachel Pearson and Galen Mitchell to the team. We're introducing folks who've joined us since the last annual meeting. So I think, as Mark noted, all of our staff, including me, are relatively new. I was introduced just 2 years ago at the annual meeting right before starting in October. So I've been with PHG for 2 years. And we have continuing staff, Kyla Cools, our Heritage Program Coordinator, and tonight also our Minute Taker, Diana Devers, our Environmental Program Manager, and Mandy DeLeo, our Water Quality Program Coordinator. All started last year, and I introduced them at last year's annual meeting. But I do want to introduce Galen and Rachel. I think Galen couldn't join us this evening. Rachel is here and could perhaps say a few words if she'd like after I'm done. But first, I'll start with Galen, who's our marketing intern who joined us in January of 2022. And hopefully all of you have seen at least some of our incredible design and marketing work that Galen has created over the course of the last 8 or so months. And she's really done a wonderful job with our social media, some of our increasing amount of print materials that we're handing out at events. And so I want to acknowledge the incredible work that she's done over the year and sort of marshaling our regular social media calendar and really providing a robust social media presence on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And while the remaining staff has posed the idea of maybe PHG starting a TikTok channel, we're not there yet, but we are active on social media. Now, Galen received her BA in Art and Archaeology from Hood College and had a career in early childhood education for 6 years before deciding to pursue her passion in art and design. So she holds an AA in Fine Arts and Visual Design with a focus on graphic design from CCBC, and is currently a graphic design student completing in the next year her BS in graphic design at Stevenson University. And we're really delighted to have Galen. I want to make sure Galen, I have to look at the participants, just want to make sure Galen isn't here this evening. Am I correct? I think she said she couldn't make it. And Rachel Pearson just joined us literally several weeks ago, the day after Labor Day, as our new community programs coordinator. And I know all of you in the coming months will have a chance to engage with Rachel. And as you'll see on our new website, which I'll highlight a bit later in the meeting, most days Rachel said you'll find her outdoors or on the water, so it's a perfect fit for her here at PHG. She grew up within the South River watershed and spent a lot of her childhood exploring tributaries in the South River and in the Chesapeake Bay. She earned a BA in Environmental Studies and a BS in Geography from Salisbury University, and later received an MS in Natural Resources from the University of Vermont in Burlington. And she comes to PHG, as I said just earlier this month, having previously worked at Arlington Echo in Anne Arundel County as part of their 4th grade team. She loves bringing people together and being an active member of the community. And when she's not outdoors hiking or fishing, Rachel enjoys teaching children's church, watercolor painting, and baking, among many other activities. So I don't know, Rachel, if you'd like to say hello to everybody, you're welcome to do so.
Sure. Thanks, Aaron, for that wonderful introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Pearson. It's so nice to be here tonight. I'm very excited. As Aaron said, I just joined the team, so I'm really excited to be here. I recognized a few names I think that I might have met already at the few events that I've attended since joining the team, but it's been nothing but a warm welcome to PHG and to the greater Patapsco heritage area. So I'm looking forward to getting to know the people, getting to know you all, and being part of this important work that PHG is leading. So thanks for having me here tonight. I think Aaron kind of hit the nail on the head with my intro. I love being outdoors, but I also love being around people. So I feel fortunate that they brought me on to be the community programs coordinator. So I hope to meet you all in person soon at an event or otherwise. If not, you can find me on the website now and shoot me an email. Give me a call on the office line. I made it into the extension list. So, but yeah, thank you. So happy to be here and happy to be part of PHG.
Thanks, Rachel. The next item on the agenda is the treasurer's report. Now, our treasurer, Pete Lins, is traveling, so unable to present the report. But I'm going to do that in Pete's stead, and certainly welcome members of the Finance Committee, which include Kathy Hudson, Bill Skulney, and Tom Summers. If they have anything that they'd like to add, are welcome to do so. But I will highlight a few items that Pete did submit his report, and certainly if there's any questions from membership, I'd be happy to answer those. So I'll take you through the items that Pete highlighted and provided an overall summary for this meeting. First of all, our finances he categorized them as healthy in fiscal year 2022, as you'll see in a second, in terms of our funding and resources available to us. Donations and grant funding to the organization remain robust and allowed for several key things. One, enhanced services and programming. And as you note, I said that Rachel's position as community programs coordinator is a new position, supported by funding that we've received from the counties and as well as foundation funding. Mandy DeLeo, who is our water quality program coordinator, that's being supported by a grant from the Howard County Office of Community Sustainability, which we received in FY22, and another one that's helping to sustain the program in FY 2023. And we've received increased funding from county grants as well, that have allowed us to enhance services and programming, expand some of our programming, as Mark noted at the outset, to include key educational components at our tree planting events, at our invasive removal events, working with audiences ages, I'd like to say 8 to 80, but I think we're actually probably somewhere like 5 to 80. We've had some activities with very young children out at tree planting events and invasive removals. We've added positions, as Pete noted, and the board also saw to it to increase salaries across the board, commensurate with the current inflation environment. And so those increases which were a combination of both inflationary and merit-based adjustments were addressed in FY22 and took hold with the new fiscal year in FY 2023. And working with the Finance Committee, we implemented at the beginning of FY 2022, we had an employee retirement program, but with no match. And the board in its budget for FY22 allowed for a 5% match for full-time employees after 3 full months of employment, with a vesting schedule that would take place over 4 years. And so employees are now able to take advantage not only of contributing their own funds to our retirement plan, but to potentially receiving up to 5% in match if they meet the qualifications. Third, Pete, I think, wanted to make a pitch, and as we'll see in a second, your donations give the organization flexibility, allow us to undertake programs that may not necessarily fit within the exact framework of some of our grants and deliverables that we provide. So it gives us some additional flexibility for programs and events, and keeps our financial future secure in terms of building up reserves for future years. And as you'll see in the following 3 slides, Pete has provided unaudited financial statements. They were compiled in August, and we did do a full audit in FY 2022. We'll be engaging our accountants for FY 2021. We'll be engaging our accountants in the coming weeks to do a review for FY 2022, and that's typically completed by the end of the calendar year, so December of 2022. And I'll share a few of those slides. And again, once I'm completed with these, I'm happy to field any questions if folks have them. The first is an unaudited statement of activity, and you'll see at the top overall revenue for donations, grants, interest, and other. We've increased revenue substantially. Now, this does include, as you'll see in a later slide outside of the financial report, some grants that for which PHG really is sort of has nominal interest, and in some cases we receive some funding from the grant, but a lot of it is being provided to contractors who are doing various work. But that's the overall statement of revenue statement at the top. And then expenditures by our standard categories that we use for bookkeeping, which you see below. That means that we have net revenue and carryover as a nonprofit. We're not looking to profit. We carry over and can extend that. And that's allowed us some flexibility also with staffing and programs into the coming year. And you see a general idea about what the expenses look like. What I will say is that a few quick points. Contractual services were quite large. We did redo our website, among other things. And as I noted, one large grant through DNR involved a substantial amount of contractual work. So you're seeing a large line item there in the expenditures, as well as staff travel remained somewhat limited with a lot of virtual events. I would expect that we budgeted for that to increase over the coming year as well, although recognizing that the landscape has changed. Our statement of the balance sheet as of 8/9, as you see here, shows what's currently in the bank and the liabilities, both in terms of accounts payable. The one thing I will note at the bottom in terms of sort of carryover equity, that we have net assets, some of which are committed funds from grants that carried over into FY 2023. So we do have reserves in the bank account. And then a statement of cash flows as of August 9th, 2022. I suppose I will just let this sort of stand there. And if anybody has questions about any of those three statements or needs me to scroll through any of them, I'm happy to do so. And as you see, if there are additional questions that I can't answer, or you want to see these, we will send these slides out after the meeting. You're welcome to contact Pete, and he's able to answer any questions as well. So I don't know if there are any questions from the group. Everyone should be able to either raise their hand or can unmute themselves or type in the chat, whatever they see fit.
Just a quick comment, Aaron. Kudos go out to certainly Pete and yourself. The summary presented here does not truly represent, as being part of the finance committee, does not truly represent the level of detail that he goes through to come up with all this. And I'll say to some extent the scrutiny that it goes through. So it really is done very effectively, efficiently, and with a lot of detail.
Thanks, Bill. I should also note that it's been a pleasure working with the finance committee and making sure that we have sort of sound financial and accounting practices in place. We did contract with a new bookkeeper in October of last year, and have streamlined a lot of our processes, made them almost all of them digital rather than relying on much physical transaction. And while it's at the outset certainly added some additional work, I think over the long term it's really improved our effectiveness and efficiency overall, and provided us a clearer window on our finances on a quarterly basis. So want to acknowledge that change in bookkeeping as well. Any other questions about the finance report? Well, I'm happy to then turn this part of the meeting over to our administration committee chair, Chris Gallant, who will highlight the slate of nominees for board member positions for the coming year.
Thanks, Aaron. Good evening, everyone. Although we did not add any new board members for this board year, I'm happy to announce that we have 8 current board members from our board class of 2019 whose terms have expired, but they have graciously agreed to another term on the board. And those board members are Ray Haslip, Pete Lenz, Marsha McLaughlin, Nancy Picard, Lisa Jensen, Chris Gallant, Gabrielle Portocolon, and Kathy Hudson. Kathy Hudson will be fulfilling the unfinished term of a former board president. So she will only serve a 1-year term instead of the normal 3-year term that all of the other 7 board members will be serving. Are there any questions? Thank you. I'll turn it back over to Mark now, who will call for a vote.
I will, I can go ahead and run a poll. So all members of PHG are invited to vote on the slate of candidates. I will open up the poll via Zoom. It's pretty much a yes, no, or abstain for the entire slate of candidates. And I'll open that up in a second and you can go ahead and vote if that's okay, Mark.
Yep, absolutely. I just wanted to make the comment that, as Chris said, we're not adding new members because last year we added several excellent new members who are very active on our committees and brought a lot to the group. So I think we're at a very good spot, especially with the re-upping of these folks. And so they have my recommendation and hopefully will be confirmed.
I have launched the poll, so you should be able to vote. I think we have 1 abstention, everyone else in favor. So we're good to go.
Great. Well, again, thanks everyone. And thanks to these individuals for their service to date and their service to come. Thank you.
Excuse me. Sorry. Now I'd like each of the vice presidents grab a drink of water there. I'll turn it over to each of vice presidents. I'll actually stop sharing my screen so you can see everybody. But we'll go in the order that's presented here. Vicky Goodman for the Arts and Culture Committee, Ray Hazlett for the Recreation Committee, Kathy Hudson for the Environment Committee, and Kathy Yonkin, who is unable to attend this evening. The report of the Heritage Committee, our Heritage Program Coordinator, Kyla Cools, will be presenting that. So go ahead, Vicky.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. I just want to kind of apologize to everybody first off about my absence lately. I've been involved, as many of you know, with a project that is kind of in support of Tapsco Valley Heritage Area in a funny way, and it's the Ellicott City 250th anniversary project. But as far as PHG and the Arts and Culture Committee in the past year, I am happy to say that we were able to make some fine selections for another wonderful PSNAPSCO calendar that were distributed again to our members. And that is in the works again this year. I understand it's open and it's up on the website now. And so I encourage anyone who knows any photographers to please check this out. I am not sure what the deadline is, but I know it hasn't passed and we're still accepting submissions. So
November 3rd.
Thank you, Aaron. So I do encourage everyone here to check that out and please encourage people to submit because it is one of our most visible pieces, I think, that we put out there. And it's certainly a good way to involve the community and show off the valley in all its beauty. We also continue to participate and offer an award in the Paint It Ellicott City plein air event. I think that may be almost in its 5th or 6th year that we've been supporting that. And I want to thank the Aaron and others who may have weighed in on that selection this year. I wasn't available to do that, but it was a beautiful painting that featured a young person by the water, by the river. And we're very happy to be able to provide some award money for that project. And I certainly hope that it can continue and raise visibility for the heritage area in a unique way through art. I would like to point out, I guess also we sponsored in a big way Arts and Drafts, which certainly falls under the Arts and Culture group. And also, I was very happy that one of our partners in the EC 250 project, Hoko Palizzo, came to PHG and asked for a sponsorship for what was a wonderful program through poetry. It was entitled See-Through Poetry, and they created and worked on compiling poems that reflected Ellicott City themes. And they put the poems in the windows on Main Street. And they also published a wonderful booklet that PHG helped sponsor and made that possible. It was certainly one of my favorite projects that came out of our EC 250 year. And if you haven't had a chance, I would encourage you to try to find that booklet if you can. If you can always email me if you're interested in it. I'll put my email in the chat before it's over. Because in addition to the poems that are there, some original, some are poems that they pulled from poets that already existed. There's great background that was written about each of the subjects of the poems and Ellicott City history. So I think that, I guess what I just want to say is I have discovered and have been able to, with EC 250, present history and culture of the Valley, specifically Ellicott City, but it's a wonderful example of how you can see differently through different lenses and expose different audiences. One of the projects that we did called Artifacts, it was a gallery show, and it just closed at the Howard County Center for the Arts. We worked with the Center for the Arts, and we asked artists to interpret historical artifacts from the Ellicott collection in the Howard County Historical Society's museum. And we had a wonderful response to that. Aaron went over and took a look with me, and I was just very happy with the the participation, and it had a wonderful attendance, and it was so joyful to me to see how we married two different audiences. We had a museum audience that was there because of the artifacts, but we had an artist audience also that was there because of the art. And bringing these two together, it was something that opened the other's eyes to in a different way. So I'm very encouraged about what the arts and culture can do. And I will remain on this committee and heading it up for PHG. And I would love anyone here who's interested in brainstorming with me for the coming year, some things or projects that we may concentrate on and find ways to work within the other areas, the recreation, certainly the environmental, and there's one more. Wait a minute, HEAR. What am I missing? Recreation, environment, arts and culture.
History.
What is it?
History.
Thank you. Thank you. How could I miss that? Oh my gosh, the first one here. So anyway, I think there's a lot that arts and culture can do. And I hope that we can at least find, another project in addition to the ongoing projects, the Snapsco and Paint It, that hope we can find something that I'm particularly interested in and would like to think about an art project that relates to recreation somehow. And I think that there's a lot of avenues we can go down there. So I'm going to put my email address for those of you who don't have it. And if you're interested in talking with me, getting together with me over coffee and just kind of brainstorming and thinking about how we can use art to tell this story in a way that other people may not be familiar with seeing it. So thank you all. I hope to work with some of you.
Thanks, Vicki. And I do want to acknowledge Vicki noted that she is staying on to sort of shepherd the Arts and Culture Committee and really brainstorm ideas, but she is, after a I think over a decade worth of service almost, is formally stepping aside from the board. So she will remain involved as part of the Arts and Culture Committee and then as an idea generator and bring her creative energies to that forum, but is stepping aside from the board. So I want to thank you for your longtime service to PHG, Vicki, and look forward to working with you in this, new role in the coming year.
Thanks, Aaron. Thank you.
And now to Ray on the Recreation Committee.
Hello, everyone. I am Ray Hayslip. I am the chair of the Recreation Committee. So I'm going to give you guys a couple quick highlights on things that we have been doing over the last year. And I guess I'll start by with recreation. We've kind of decided that our role is just like connecting people to the recreation opportunities in the PVHA, sorry, by focusing on the different groups like fishing and hiking and disc golf and adaptive recreation and things like that. So one of the things that Mandy came up with was creating a survey to send out, and it went out to some of the board members, and we were just looking at what are people's different interest and what people do in the Valley that we might not be aware of, because I think that there's a lot out there that we're just not involved in or that we don't know a lot about. So we got some really good feedback on that, and I'm actually going to post the link for that doc in the chat for everyone, so you can like look at that and just send that in and give us some feedback if you don't mind, and that'll help us kind of expand and be able to contact, because there's like fishing Facebook groups and people that just do canoeing and stuff like that. So those are the people that we're trying to reach out to and pair everyone up that that we know, our audience, to these different types of opportunities. So I put that doc in there, and the link to the doc for you guys. And another thing that we were kind of working on too is, so as we all know, there's a lot of usage in the park, and sometimes it's difficult. One of the things that we're trying to address is the overflow parking and illegal parking and stuff like that. So I created an interactive map, and it's on the website that has points to the authorized parking areas in the Patapsco Valley State Park, or the areas kind of like Banneker. They have trails and there's access there. And it also has, when you click on that, you can click on the heading and it tells you about the area that you're going to go to. For example, like the Rockburn Skills Park, or, there's two different entrances in the Rockburn. If you park on one side, you don't have car access to the other, and people might not know that. So it's a good way for users to be able to say, okay, these are the authorized parking areas that I can go to, and get some information on there. And if you actually go to the map hub, there's an easy way to find your location and route to the closest parking area for you. So that's on the map section of the website. Aaron uploaded he loaded the link to that earlier today. And I think that there's still some adjustment and some things that need to be done, but it's a work in progress. But yeah, actually, Aaron put it up. Thank you. It's in the chat now. And so, and we're trying to also do some sort of an event. Like we're not really into like hosting a bunch of events and all these other things, but we would like to have like just one signature, like a trail running 5K, just to like bring in sponsorships and like help people be able to enjoy the park with someone having something organized for them. So I have some information on that, and also we're looking at ways to promote environmental friendly recreation too, like using paddling in certain sections of the river that you can't access for cleanup. So Mandy and I scouted a section just below the river, like just below the bridge in Ellicott City, and the logistics is going to be tough there, but we're looking at some other areas that we might be able to do that. So if anyone has any input on a good place to do that, let me know. So with that, that's kind of what we have going on. And I mean, and it's a lot of really interesting and cool things happening in the valley or in our area for recreation. So if anyone wants to join and come be on our committee, then that'd be great. It's a lot of stuff we're planning and trying to work out. We're directing the recreation committee in a way and trying to get its identity. So that's all. If anyone has any questions, let me know.
Thanks,
If you
Ray.
listen to anything, Aaron, go for it.
No. Thanks, Ray. Kathy Hudson for the Environment Committee. I'll mute you, Kathy.
Here we go. So I'm Kathy Hudson, and I've had the privilege of heading up PHG's Environmental Committee this past year. Would like to thank all who have participated in this committee, as well as the staff leadership provided by Diana Devers. Purpose of our committee is to provide support to the PHG environmental programs, as well as to respond to current issues and to help develop new programs. We continued support of our long-term projects of doing stream cleanups, invasive plant removals, and tree planting, with the numbers being provided in the annual report. We also continued to develop a map of vernal pools in our heritage area and to provide education as to their importance, and led a vernal pool hike last spring. We also started an educational campaign through social media this spring on the habitat needed by fireflies and how people can improve habitat for them in their own backyards to help reverse their decline in numbers. We're looking into ways to expand this program in the next year. And finally, we have supported the water quality monitoring program that has been expanded under Mandy's leadership. And we're looking at that data and we'll be using it to inform possible new programs or initiatives. And so a big thank you to all the volunteers who came out to our events and to help to better the environment for the Patapsco Valley. And as said before, if anyone would like to join our committee, we meet quarterly, and feel free either to contact Diana or myself. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. And then finally, Kyla will present on behalf of Kathy Yonkin as chair, who chairs the Heritage Committee.
Hi, everybody. Apologies, my camera's not working tonight, so I will just be a disembodied voice. So I'm presenting the annual Heritage Committee report on behalf of Kathy Yonkin, who couldn't be here this evening. So she begins by, well, first I'll just start by saying the Heritage Committee is committed to exploring, interpreting, and sharing the multifaceted history and heritage of the Patapsco Valley Heritage Area. Kathy has put together some highlights from our Heritage Committee efforts in the Heritage Program, and she begins by highlighting Patapsco Days. The annual Patapsco Day celebration occurred in March for the last 2 years, and they have been primarily virtual due to the COVID pandemic. Besides orchestrating our own events, which have included historic trail hikes, Patapsco short videos exploring in-depth information about a particular subject of the heritage area, or even a noted author presenting his thoroughly researched subject matter, we have also invited our partners to join the Patapsco Days schedule, showcasing their own unique content. The Heritage Program has also participated in the EC 250 celebrations. In particular, Aaron and Kyla, which is me, lent their expertise to the production of the film Pioneering Along the Patapsco, which opened the season for EC 250 events and was again featured in Patapsco Days. The Heritage Committee has served as a historic resource. The members of our Heritage Committee have varied and deep experience in the topics of preservation, natural resources, and historical knowledge. Often they are called on by an organization to assess a new project and are often asked for support in the form of a letter or in-person testimony. Some examples have included the Fishmonger's Daughters restaurant. The project involved rehabilitation of 2 buildings in the Catonsville Historic District and the demolition of 724 Frederick Road, built in 1888. Our committee made a good case to support saving part of the 724 front facade, reusing it as a historic entrance to the proposed parking lot, and thereby retaining a good part of the historic streetscape. We suggested an interpretive display for the restaurant's first floor as well as outside the restaurant. Aaron included our recommendations in a response letter submitted by the October 15th, 2022 target date. The Heritage Committee also participated with the Old Ellicott City Safe and Sound Channel Construction Project. Committee members participated in the Howard County Preservation Commission's meetings, the subject being the approval of 2 safe and sound projects. So that included HPC 2138, removal of the rear sections of 8085, 8095, 8109, and 8111 and 8113 Main Street, as well as HPC 2139, the rear facade reconstruction of 8081, 8085, 8109, 8111, 8113, and 8125 Main Street. Finally, the Heritage Committee has also been participating in discussions over the Wilkins Rogers Mill project. David Tafaro, the prospective buyer and developer of the flour mill, to 5,000 Ellicott action, publishing on aspects. Our committee worked on details for a task force to address this. However, long delays in the mill project have stalled action on that committee for now, but we hope to move forward with that in the future. Finally, the Heritage Committee has had a focused cemetery preservation effort recently. In fiscal year 2022, Kyla created a 5-phase plan on cemetery preservation in the Patapsco Valley Heritage area. And multiple Heritage Committee members have been interested in helping out. And then recently, in March of 2022, at the Executive Committee meeting, the Heritage Committee learned of the Owella Historical Society's request for help with the future of the degraded Owella Cemetery. The Heritage Committees fostered a collaboration of PHG and Owella Historical Society members to look for a new owner, start a Friends of group for the cemetery, and begin a maintenance project that has been funded by prior cemetery trustees and grants. This project happily includes involvement of PHG's environmental program and is a good example of the crossover between programs here at PHG. So that's it for the official report. I will just conclude by noting that we will be organizing a Heritage Committee meeting in October. So if anyone is interested in joining our committee, interested in learning more about any of the projects that have been mentioned in this report, or has ideas for future programs or events, please feel free to join us. Keep an eye out on your email. You will receive an invitation in the coming weeks.
Thanks, Kyla. Are there any questions for any of the program committee chairs before we move to our guest speaker? Seeing none, I will take a moment to share my screen and introduce my colleague and friend, Dave Ferraro, who is the executive director of the Friends of Patapsco Valley State Park. And I've put you get Dave live, but I put a picture up there along with the Friends of Patapsco Valley State Park logo and their mission statement. But I will close that out. Let me see. I wanted to make sure we had that up there. And just quickly say that Dave has served as executive director of Friends of Patapsco Valley State Park since July of 2019. And he has over 25. He started when he was very little boy, over 25 now, probably 30 years of experience in nonprofit administration, holding positions in history and culture museums in Baltimore and Washington, D.C. He's also served in leadership positions in cycling and outdoor advocacy throughout the region, particularly as president of MORE, the Mid-Atlantic Off-Road Enthusiasts. And I think for a lot of you, which you may not know, Dave is also a resident curator of a historic property in Patapsco Valley State Park where he lives, and can talk to you more about the resident curatorship program at another time. But it's really my honor and pleasure to turn it over to Dave. And I know, are you going to share your slides, or do you want me to run it, Dave?
I think I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
We'll see if I need some technical assistance, Aaron. But I mean, if that wasn't enough Patapsco talk, greetings everyone from the headquarters of Patapsco Valley State Park. Up here tonight, knocking out some work, and I'm so pleased to be here. So Aaron and Mark, thanks for inviting me. Mark, I want to quickly rewind to your comment about PHG being a partnership organization. The Friends Board wanted me to express tonight how, PHG is absolutely one of our most important partners. And we really do consider you like our sister brother organization. So, I know most of the people on this call tonight. We're friends, we're neighbors. But I don't want to, miss the opportunity to say, we're really glad to be in the same neighborhood with you guys, and you are absolutely our favorite sibling in the Patapsco Valley. So, So Aaron, I think
to everyone.
No, just you guys. It's you're a sweetheart. So, Aaron, we were texting and emailing back and forth today, and you asked me to just put together a quick slideshow about who we are and what we do. So this will probably be a little bit of preaching to the choir tonight. I'll kind of rock and roll through it, and then we can jump in with questions about what's going on here at the park. So I'm going to try and share my screen now. This is where I might need help. Let's see what happens here. I don't want that one. I want this one. Ooh. Okay. How's that looking? Can you guys see that there? Aaron, can you guys see that screen okay?
Yeah,
Looks
we can
good.
see it.
Looks good.
Sorry. Okay. Are you getting like a good view, or are you seeing all my background
No, we can, it's clear.
All right, we're good to go. All right, here we go then. The Dog and Pony Show, the Friends of Patapsco Valley State Park. Most of you already know who we are. We work with you all the time. We are 25 years old this year. That's a big milestone for us. A quarter century we've been working to resource Patapsco Valley State Park. We are the official nonprofit organization. So we actually have an affiliated agreement with DNR, and we are able to raise money and raise resources for the park. We have one full-time employee. That's me. It's a lot of work here at headquarters, but we have a huge army of volunteers and a big support organization. But right now, just one full-time employee. There's our beautiful board of directors. We have 12 people on our board. I don't know how many folks you guys have. We have 12. We're working really hard to continue to diversify our board. We're adding folks on our board that I think really reflect the usership of the park. We're focusing on having people that speak, English as a second language. We're focusing on folks that participate in atypical activities at the park. And this is our most recent photo from Cocktails from Trails. Everybody looks pretty happy that night, except for this guy who's kind of over it. So what Friends does is we only work on Maryland Park Service approved projects. So when the park needs something, that's when we activate. We support the park's mission. We only work on projects within the park, and that's very different from what PHG does. You folks have a footprint that goes all over the Patapsco Valley. We're only working in the park. We work to make sure the Park Service maintains its relationships with all of its user groups. We really come probably from a recreational base, and many of our board members and sort of core volunteers come from the outdoor industry. So we have fingers into all the user groups here at Patapsco. Another thing we do a lot is we do function as kind of an informal outreach and communications arm for the park. We manage most of the social media channels in the Patapsco Valley. We're admins on things like, Patapsco Mountain Bikers Facebook page and the Friends page and things like that. So we can really help the park communicate what's going on in the Valley. And the other thing we do that's kind of important is we function as the nonprofit pass-through. So if folks want to make a donation to the park, sometimes it's hard to make a donation that's just to Patapsco as opposed to the Maryland Park Service. So often we function as a pass-through to get that money right here in our local park. One of the main things we work on is the trail system. There's no doubt that the trail system in Patapsco is well loved and oversubscribed and nationally known. So we maintain the 240-mile trail system here in the park. We raise money for improvements in the park, for trail projects, for signage. And we also organize the Patapsco Fun Series. That's the annual trail work series here in the park. Over 5,000 hours a year we're up to now with the Patapsco Fun Series. Every year we have the Patapsco Trail Fest 2. That's only 2.5 weeks away. But we're the group here within the park that really focuses on the trail system. Move this over a little bit there. There we go. The Patapsco Fun Series. Yeah, so most of you have probably been to a trail work day. I know PHG has had presence at many of them. Just last week, we had a big trail work day, National Public Lands Day at the Rock Haven area. And so in each area of the park, we're constantly improving, maintaining, building sustainable trail for every user, and working on doing closures for trails that were unpermitted or in areas that aren't sustainable environmentally. I think we got some PHG people in that photo. So the Trailwork Series, why it's been so successful is we really focus on fun at the Trailwork Series. We have really nice t-shirts, we provide lunch, we have local breweries sponsoring the Trailwork Days, and it's really built a community. So our focus with the Trailwork Series is build the community first, and then the trails come along with it. And one of the things that's made the Trailwork Series so successful is the diverse user base. The Trailwork community in Patapsco, the volunteer community, it actually started pretty much with a mountain bike community, but over the past 5 years, we've seen a big explosion in the diverse users who come to trail work. Lots of trail runners, lots of hikers, lots of bird watchers, kayakers. So that's the strength of the Trailwork Series, is its diverse user base. Another thing we've been killing it on right now is our adaptive programs. This has become a core tenet, a core pillar of what we're doing here at Patapsco. As we looked at what we wanted to do here at the park, we knew we wanted to focus on sort of our atypical or more sort of underrepresented user. So we've really focused on adaptive sports here at the park. We have a big program just focused around the accessible play space. So in Hollowfield, we built the first accessible playground in a Maryland State Park, a really cool playground. And we have open houses here every year for folks from Kennedy Krieger to come and enjoy the play space. We're doing adaptive paddling programs. We couldn't do these without Baltimore Canoe and Kayak Club, Kennedy Krieger, and Team River Runner. But 4 times a year now at the Daniels area, we're doing adaptive programs and adaptive paddling in the Patapsco. It's the first adaptive paddling program in a state park. We're focused on adaptive cycling. We just built an adaptive cycling trail in McKeldin, 1.5 miles long. We've got grants from Chesapeake Bay Trust, the Callert Foundation, Mountain Club, lots of bike shops, lots of bicycle manufacturers, and we've made big progress in giving folks who have accessible needs a chance to mountain bike in the park. I should say that we have some great photos here tonight. So if you get tired of hearing me talk, you can just look at some of these killer photos. The adaptive cycling is so cool. I encourage you guys to come out to one of our adaptive programs. It's a great day. It's really incredibly gratifying and moving to see these folks have an opportunity to use the trail system. Along with cycling, here's the thing about the trail. So yeah, this new trail in McKeldin is really neat. It's 1.5 miles long. We hired a professional trail builder to widen and sort of change the rolling contours on the tall poplar trail. And now if you're in an adaptive bicycle, you can have a real Patapsco trail experience. It goes down the contour to the river and climbs back up to the new kiosk that we built there, which PHG partially funded. And we have accessible parking up there and ADA bathrooms up there. That's in McKeldin on the Tall Poplar Trail. Adaptive hiking. We did 3 hikes this year on the Gristmill Trail. So starting at Lost Lake, we're doing hiking with Kennedy Krieger and doing about a mile round trip hike with folks who are in wheelchairs or on crutches and have adaptive and accessible requirements. That's a really nice event to check out, the adaptive hiking. A nice event for everyone, not just for folks who have accessible or adaptive requirements, but we're having folks show up for that are maybe aren't that quote unquote fit or don't want a big natural surface trail experience. The adaptive hiking is becoming very popular. The other thing that's cranking in the park is the MVC, the Mobile Visitor Center. I'm sure you guys know about this. An MHAA grant and a PHG mini grant help pay for this, but this is the mobile visitor center that travels throughout the park. It's a really neat vehicle. It's stocked with Spanish language collaterals and it's got a Spanish speaking ranger in it. And so we're using this vehicle to go to all types of discrete areas in the park where people are using the park. Maybe it's along a river, maybe it's in a place where they're maybe even not supposed to be parking their cars. And these rangers are able to interact with them where and when they use the park. It's been really, it's been a very successful project. It's received a lot of attention nationally. We get calls all the time from other park units trying to, institute these programs. The MVC is a game changer for Patapsco for sure. Pardon the text messages coming in. That's just a glamour shot of Alyssa at Mercedes-Benz. So that's some of the our typical programming. I put a little slide in here for questions as we go. Any questions about our programming? Love it. I'll keep talking. What we do, not only do programs, but we do events. In 2022, we did 44 events. We're not quite through 22 yet. I hope I make it, but we're doing a pile of events. And the reason we're able to do these is our really strong partnerships. More and more, I think Friends is becoming an umbrella nonprofit organization. We have such longstanding relationships with these sort of recreation-based nonprofits that they run these events better than we do. So we're working to empower them in the park. We're working them to give them opportunities to run their events. And we're seeing that across climbing. We're seeing that across paddling, certainly in the disc golf area. And Friends is, while we're in it, we're getting, we're there on site, we're getting all the permits, we're getting the permissions in place. Our engaged volunteer groups are the ones that are actually producing them now. Patapsco Trail Fest, 2.5 weeks away. That is our big trail event of the year. It is a mashup of all types of rec, everything from disc golf to adaptive hiking to a high school mountain bike day, to a 5K run, to a night hike, it's a show. The Punisher Pickall this year at Trail Fest. Of note, there is no mountain bike racing. We have decided that we're moving away from bicycle racing in the park and we're letting our partners do it. So we had some folks that are invested in our community put on a 4-race series at Pickall this year. Very well attended, the Punisher at Pickall. The disc golf tournaments, we're working with PBDCA to help them with their disc golf tournaments. Patapsco has an amazing disc golf course. It's a very well-regarded course because it's a forest course, and the disc golf community has really taken off. They've taken a lot of action in the park, and they have a lot of agency right now in the McKeldin area. We work with Baltimore Canoe and Kayak a ton. We get them access to Daniels. They do their clinics there, their role clinics. So we work with Baltimore Canoe, nice folks. Good. That's a hearty bunch, the paddlers. Of course, we do cocktails for trails every year. I think probably some of you in this call are still hungover from 2 weeks ago. No, I'm just kidding. But that's our annual fundraiser and a very popular event. We have it every year at the Elkridge Furnace Inn. 6 Hours of Woodstock. That's another mountain bike race we partner with in the Woodstock area of the park. Esme Parque. Every year we partner with Maryland Park Service for a Spanish language festival in the Avalon area. Minority mountain bikers. This is a new group we're working with. So there's a large DMV group of folks that are mountain bikers, but also they bring their families along to these events. So this year, for the first year, we did a large event with minority mountain bikers at Avalon on the 3rd of July. Looking forward to working with this group more, some really motivated folks and very engaged partners. Patapsco 50K, we're doing, not only doing runs at Patapsco Trail Fest, a 5K, a 10K, a family run, and we're talking about a night hike potentially. We are partners with our folks at White Oak doing the Patapsco 50K, which is what, about a month away. Mini Pedals and Muddy Pedals, we underwrite and back up Muddy Pedals efforts to get women and kids on bikes in the park. So this year we sponsored and underwrote 3 weeks of camps for Mini Pedals, and we work with Erin Wells on her Muddy Pedals efforts at Patapsco. Yeah, the NICA team. So most of you know that 2 years ago, we built the Schools Out Loop in Pickall. This is a 3.5-mile loop at the top of the Pickall area. And we did that just so we could have events at the park. Most of the park is so oversubscribed, particularly the south areas of the park, that having events there is almost impossible these days. So the Pickall area is the last bit of real estate where you can have a large event. So in response to that, in response to our partners wanting to have events, we built this loop up there. And for the second year in a row, we're going to be hosting the NICA state finals in the Pickall area. Questions about our events? How am I doing, Aaron?
You're doing fine. I'll just note we're sponsoring the November NICA event at Pickall.
What is NICA, Micah?
NICA is the National Interscholastic Cycling Association, and MICL is the Maryland Interscholastic Cycling League. NICA is the national arm, and MICL is the statewide thing. Yeah, Aaron, I should note that I was going through these slides here. You'll see PHG and MHA logos on many of the images. Like I said, I'm sort of preaching to the choir here, but many of the people on this call are parts of these events and have underwritten these events and are helping with all of these events here at the park. All right, so we got programming, we got events, and let's talk about the not so sexy stuff. And that's that we do raise money and support park operations. You know, Patapsco Valley State Park is busy and their budget is lean. We are anticipating more resources with the Great Maryland Outdoors Act. I think that's going to help here at the park, but be it known that only gets the park up to take care of its deferred staffing and deferred maintenance. It doesn't get to address our pandemic and post-pandemic levels of use. So out of our general fund or out of specific grants and discrete fundraising, we provide money to the park for things like training, safety equipment, maintenance equipment. You know, we buy chippers and we buy, you know, line trimmers, and we buy masks and safety equipment. We buy things in the office like consumables and office supplies, envelopes and paper. Busy days at the park when it's super hot and, you know, the pressure is on our seasonal rangers. We often are running around with coolers of Gatorade and pizzas and things like that to keep our folks that are making just above minimum wage, at least in good spirits to deal with a very demanding public. We do fund meetings and seminars and training so our park staff can go out of state and keep up with best practices in land management. And the other thing that's really important is our, you know, out of the Friends account, we've issued credit cards to the park manager. So even in a sort of impromptu basis, if Rob needs something, he can spend, you know, without prior authorization up to $500 on Friends account. And he does use that, you know, little bits, gasoline, first aid kits, things that anyone would use in the course of business. That's really hard for park staff to get out of general services or their budget. So we give them the flexibility to do their business here at the park. Sorry. I apologize for that. That's my daughter. Sorry about that. don't even know how to do this. Decline. All right. Sorry, guys. I have so many windows up here. I really apologize. The other thing I'll say is, you know, some of the park's operations like ribbon cuttings, lunches, things like that. Friends always steps in to fund those bits too. So that's our general support for parks operations. So what's on tap in 2023? We've got all of our typical programming and events, and then we've got some major projects coming down the pike. We have a Maryland State bond bill to develop the Patapsco Trail Center. That's a house in the Avalon area of the park. We have a Maryland State bond bill to purchase and hand over the land to the Maryland Park Service of the Simpkins Industry site. I'll probably get some questions about that tonight. We have an RTP grant to build the OEC connector. We have an MHA grant to put in parking for the OEC connector. We have an RTP grant to build more adaptive trails in the McKeldin area, and we just got a grant from DNR to develop a new master plan for Patapsco Valley State Park. Whew. All right, enough of me. You guys got any questions?
Other questions for Dave? There has to be at least one question out there.
Tell us about Simpkins, Dave.
Yeah, right. So I can tell you what's going on with Simpkins. Let me see if I can silence all these messages that are coming in here. I apologize. So Simpkins, some of you know, some of you don't know that we do have a $540,000 LBI to work on purchasing Simpkins. In addition to that, we got a $300,000 discretionary grant from the state of Maryland in FY23 for the purchase of Simpkins. So we are now in a position where we have enough money to buy the Simpkins Industry site. Next is how exactly do we do that? And the mechanics of once it's purchased, how quickly does it move into Park Service hands? And then when it moves into Park Service hands, what do we do about the exceedingly dangerous road, cycling, pedestrian conditions adjacent to Simpkins Industries? So this is a complex process. It is making progress, and I'm optimistic that by the time they bury me on the hill behind my house, there will be a safe pedestrian thoroughfare and a well-managed, sustainable parking lot in the Simpkins site. How's that?
That's great. You just keep going with it, Dave.
Thank you.
I know if anybody can do it, you can. So it's good news.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah.
When you say well managed on that, like what's actually the plan for like maintaining it, keeping it clean? Is it going to be a staffed parking lot, or is it just going to what?
It's got to be. It's got to be. It's going to happen. So that's, you know, those are the questions, like what happens after we purchase it? Not only does it have to be staffed, but you can't have a parking facility there without bathrooms. You've got to have bathrooms too. That's in a floodplain. So what does that mean? That means probably a slab with a security fence around it with a array of porta pots that are cleaned every other day. And how is that managed? And how do you manage river access there? How many rangers need to be there to keep people from starting fires and drinking? So it is it's a hot spot in the Patapsco Valley, and the purchase of the land is only a small step to getting it to be a sustainable site.
Yeah.
But it's going to happen. It will happen, folks. I have no doubt. We have a lot of people standing around this project that have the, I would say, influence and decision-making ability to move it forward. But it's such a complex web of jurisdictions and interests that it certainly can't be done from my front porch or this laptop.
Any other questions for Dave? Well, I've put at least I think I put the homepage for Friends in the chat. Becky asked about how to donate. If you go to the top menu there, you can hit donate, and I'm sure Dave and Friends will be happy to receive the donation and support all of the wonderful work that they're doing in the park. Really appreciate you sharing all of this with us tonight, Dave, and look forward to, continuing to grow the partnership we have, acknowledging, I think you said we're sibling or whatever relationship it is. It's a friendly and a positive and a good one, a supportive one, and really delighted to be working in the Valley in support of all of the work that Friends does.
Thank you, Aaron, and thanks to each of you. Hey, you guys, don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can email me at the website or, send me a text. I'm always available to you, and I'm just so thrilled that you're part of this. That we're part of the same community.
Well, thanks for joining us, Dave. We'll let you go get your messages. I don't want family members upset at you. So make sure you respond quickly.
I will. My apologies for that. Thanks, guys.
Oh no, it's no
you.
problem. We're casual here. Appreciate you joining us. Thanks so much.
Bye.
If there are other questions that, as Dave mentioned, you can reach Dave at director at fpvsp.org. Certainly, if there's anything you want to ask him, reach out to him directly. I'm going to go ahead and share the rest of my screen. I wanted to highlight a few things, and as we draw the members meeting to a close. I'm hoping, can everybody see the screen that says mini grant sponsorship and project grants? Is that what's showing?
Yep, looks good.
Okay. Just wanted to highlight, that we have sort of three areas where, we do a lot of work ourselves, but as an organization, we are also a funder. So in FY 2022, you see the mini grants listed at the top. That covered organizations and partners in both Howard and Baltimore counties. The project grants that are listed in the middle, those are state project grants. So they come through the Maryland Heritage Areas Authority, and they are any organization conducting their work in the Patapsco Valley Heritage, nonprofit organization or government entity within the boundaries of the Patapsco Valley Heritage Area is eligible to apply for those grants. And that's then a competitive statewide process. Our grants review committee does review those grants, and we provide feedback to try to strengthen those grants. And typically in a good year, we get 3 or 4 grants funded statewide in a larger competitive process that has several hundred grants competing for a pot of money that varies. I think for FY22 it was less. In FY23, I think it was around just under $5 million. In FY22, I think it was $4 million statewide. And then we've instituted a sponsorship program to support highlighting promoting and highlighting PHG, but sponsoring programs and events that take place within the heritage area, in-person, virtual events. And you see those listed here in both Baltimore and Howard County. Typically, those are almost always $1,000 or less. We did institute a policy that any request over $1,000 would get fully reviewed by the grants committee. Otherwise, as those come in, I typically review them. We review them on a rolling quarterly basis and try to provide as much support as we can out of our county management grants to support sponsoring events across the region. So that's a brief overview of our mini grants, sponsorships, and project grants. These will be highlighted in the annual report. The annual report is not quite ready yet. You will get a digital version of the annual report following the meeting, but some of these grants will be highlighted in further detail in the report. And one quick reminder that our mini grant deadline for this year, so these were for FY22, our mini grant deadline for this year, for those of you who might want to pass along information to partners, it's on our website. We've streamlined the process and allowed folks to apply online, is next Monday, October 3rd. We've tried to make the application as least onerous as possible. So certainly want to encourage folks to spread the word and get partners to apply. So that's an overview of the funding we've provided to local organizations over the course of FY 2022. Internally, this is highlights the funding we've received: grant funding, operational grant funding, block grant funding that supports the mini grants, memberships, donations, sales and fundraising, and several other grants, as you see here. As I noted at the outset, the Chesapeake and Atlantic Coastal Bays Trust Fund grant for $130,000 was a larger grant that's supporting a watershed assessment project in Catonsville that's close to wrapping up, but began in FY 2022, and much of that funding is for external work. A small portion of it is retained to support staff time devoted to the grant internally. So that's a picture of the funding we received in FY 2022. We continue to pursue all of these or have commitments for many of them in FY 2023. Some cases they're calendar year funds, and have explored some additional applications in other grant funding opportunities in for FY 2023 as well.
Okay, just in general. These later.
And then the final piece I wanted to well, there's two things. In the interest of time, I'm not going to take you to the new website, but I would encourage you to visit our new website at patapsco.org. It looks vastly different than what you saw previously. This is the sort of the top part of the homepage. And what I will point out is that we really have tried to promote the heritage area while also acknowledging the important role of PHG, but you see a sort of sliding scale with the menu at the top. The drop down in terms of discover and plan your visit is really catering to visitors and residents to learn more about the history of the area, to explore opportunities, to learn more about outdoor activities. And then the middle category in stewardship, which we're still revising a little bit, is focused more directly on our environmental programs. And then it scales over to other ways in which you can volunteer and then learn about PHG. I think the design is crisp. It's clear. It fits our brand that Vicky and others several years ago helped to develop. And I think overall we feel really pleased with the work we've done with Red Star Creative, which is headquartered in Towson, to develop and launch our new website, which launched at the end of July. So while we're still tweaking a few things, as Ray pointed out with the maps, we have a more robust, more dynamic, and I think more seamless website that allows folks to learn more about the heritage area while exploring the work that PHG does as well. And then at least wanted to highlight our upcoming fall events. I haven't included anything. I will preface this by saying that given the weather in Florida that may make its way up here, we're not looking very good for our upcoming weekend events that are slated for outdoors. But I have highlighted what is upcoming in October and November. And I think one of the things I'd point out is if you go to the Connect with Us, and you can drop down to our new events calendar on the website, where you will see any of our events are on there. Some partner events are on there, but you can sign up for any public events that you want to. And I've also included other events that where we might be working with a corporate partner or doing a private event. I will point out a couple quick things. As I said, on 10/3 is the mini grant deadline. On the 6th of October, Kyla, it's a FY 22/23 project. So Kyla didn't necessarily mention it in the Heritage Committee report, but we have worked with the Howard County Visitor Center on an exhibit highlighting the historic funeral homes of Ellicott City that will be opening on October 6th. Mandy continues with her biological and water quality monitoring, and you see all of those events highlighted in the calendar. And if you're interested in the biological monitoring program or the water quality monitoring program, certainly encourage you to reach out to Mandy, who's at coordinator at patapsco.org. And then a range of other events, including some internal meetings. and a board meeting that will take place at the beginning of November. So that's a quick overview of upcoming events. And that sort of leads us to closing. So I will turn it back to Mark and to close out the 2022 annual meeting.
Well, thank you, Aaron. I mean, that's a lot of awesome material. I said we were going to be short, maybe we weren't, but it was very informative to me, hopefully to everyone else. And I really appreciate people's time. Just one last call. Are there any final questions on PHG or anything you heard today? To give you one more chance. If not, again, thanks for your time. Thanks to Aaron and everybody who contributed today, especially to Dave. That was really, really good job. And we appreciate it. And we hope to talk to you during the year and at the next annual meeting as well. So thanks again for joining.
Vicky, is that a question?
Okay.
Yes, I just have a plug, that's all, okay? Before we sign off, and to let everybody know, first of all, I want to thank PHG on behalf of EC250 for the funding that was provided through the Maryland Heritage Area Authorities. You saw that big number. We couldn't have done this whole year for the programming without Patapsco Heritage Greenway pushing that forward to MHAA for us. And we thank you so very, very much. And one of the biggest projects that money is going toward is a musical, arts and culture. Here we go. So I'm going to share this link, okay, to everyone. I think I'm going to try to share it because tickets go on sale. There it is. Tickets go on sale October 1st on National Road. See it now before it goes to Broadway, okay?
Well, thank you, Vicky. And that's exactly what makes me the happiest is to see things happen. EC3, 250 was not something that we did by ourselves or you guys did by yourselves. It was an incredible effort, but the fact that we can contribute in any way is great. And that's what we want to keep saying is more and more things as we build people's understanding and enjoyment of the Valley. So thanks again.
Well, we could not have done it without you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one quick announcement, Mark. Since both of our previous past presidents have joined the meeting, but Steve Wax and Grace Kobovsik are here. I am happy to report that the board has voted and approved emeritus status, and we would invite both of you, and we would invite both of you to join us to honor that at our November annual meeting, which will take place at CCBC on November 1st, and we'd be delighted to have you at that event.
Plan to be there.
Great.
Thanks.
Well deserved.
Nice honor. Thank you.
Great. Okay, anything else? Okay, thanks everyone. Have a great evening, rest of your week, rest of your year. Take care.
Thank you all.